working with the local church to take the hope of Christ to every student in the United States. This is First Priority. Now here are your hosts, Steve Cherrico and Brad Schelling.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. My name is Steve and this is Brad.
Oh, we love doing the podcast.
Especially during the summer.
We do. When it's been so long since we recorded something.
So long.
It has. What's up, Cherrico?
Welcome, dude.
What do you got going on this summer?
Running.
What's good?
That is good, but it's crazy.
Keeps you healthy.
Yeah. After last week's
Live
to-do
longer.
list that you left me with.
Yeah.
Running.
Thank you for that.
Which is good.
I only had to whine a little bit for you to take on all my jobs. So.
Yes. I took none of your
jobs. I wasn't
jobs.
even crying or gnashing
None
of
of
teeth
your
or nothing.
jobs.
Just a little whining.
No one's buying that for a minute. They all know.
Uh-huh.
What about you? What's going on?
Well, starting trips. Kids are coming home from college. Well, yeah, one's been home already and back to Europe and coming back again. Yeah, it's a whirlwind, but it's going to be fun.
Good.
The married kid's coming home for a month.
The married kid is coming home.
Yep. His wife is my daughter-in-law. It's legal daughter. My other daughter said it's legal. It's daughter-in-law.
It's my daughter-in-law.
His
That's
wife.
a fact, Jack. That's a fact.
It's my daughter-in-law, which
Yes.
is legally my daughter, because that's what my daughter-in-law.
Yep.
Yeah, she's doing a rotation here for a month of June in
She's got
Nashville.
clinicals.
Yep,
Yeah.
PA school. So we'll have 7 in the house for 3 weeks. It'll be fun.
7, huh?
Said the dad
7, huh?
before they all showed up.
The grocery bill's awesome this month.
I'm not worried about
The
that at
electrical
all.
and water is awesome
Yes,
this month.
Yes. Well, an interesting point. There's the fun fact from last week. Jason Dahl came, led us in some coaching, said the most profound thing. You know, he was going to cover our bill. We went out for Mexican food.
Yeah.
It's like $130 for a bunch of us to eat.
Yep.
And he's like, we were like, thank you. He's like, you know what? It's all perspective because I can pay $130 for this, or for about 70, I can have water in my house all month.
Oh, my word.
And it's like, you know what? That's true. For $70, I can walk over to any faucet in my house for 28 entire days, 30 entire days, and have running water. But it cost me $130 to go out to eat with some
Thank you,
friends.
Jason Dahl, for dropping some
It's just
science.
Perspective. It's perspective.
Dropping some knowledge on
Right?
Brad. He did.
Yeah.
He had 3 or 4 of those, too. He kept
He
going.
did.
He's like, or I could do this, or I could do that.
Yeah. Can't tell all of them on the podcast, but
No, you cannot.
we won't talk about that.
Speaking of funny things, not funny, but fun.
Yep.
You got a story. What's going on?
I did. I got an email from the Sandy Mass.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Sandy Mass.
I live in Nashville, but my claim to fame is knowing Sandy Mass.
There you go.
She sent a year-end email just listing out club updates.
Okay.
I sat here like, this is crazy. A 7th grade club grew from 4 students to a consistent 70 from Thanksgiving to the end of the year.
What?
Yeah. It's just over and over again. Middle school, Mrs. Gray has hosted this club for the past 10 plus years. Dedicated volunteers.
We like her.
We like Mrs. Gray. I've never met Mrs. Gray.
She's all right.
But she's my favorite.
She gets
teacher
shout outs
sponsor.
for this week's podcast.
She does. The students at the high school served all 900 students and staff popcorn to show the love of Christ to their school.
That's a long day of popcorn.
That is a lot of popcorn. Yes. I wonder if they did that in school or if they did it at home.
They just kept interrupting
class.
classes.
Right.
You'd like to interrupt the scheduled program for.
I think I actually saw they did walk around with a cart.
That's
and
awesome.
serve popcorn to everybody
Good.
in their school. Another one wrote faith notes and attached them to candy and handed them out to all the students in their school. That was an 8th grade club.
It's good.
Did that. So she's got 19 different clubs in and around Grand Haven, Michigan. And it was just an encouraging email to get from Sandy.
Good for
So
her.
if you're listening to this, subscribe to Sandy's email list. You'll be encouraged by it.
Where would they go if they wanted to subscribe to that?
You're welcome. Let me
Click the
click
link.
the link.
No pressure. Click the link.
Can you click the link while your phone is on Do Not Disturb?
I think you can.
The answer is yes.
It's only about people reaching out to you.
FirstPriorityLakeshore.com.
There you go. FirstPriorityLakeshore.com.
That's it.
Get on Sandy's list.
Yep.
Well, that's a good story. Nice
Join
job.
today.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, what are we here talking about today?
So you mentioned last week.
I
We
did.
talked about last week, and
I time-stamped it.
we did.
My bad. Sorry, Tayana.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
We do this meeting annually.
Okay.
We run the Traction EOS platform, whatever you want to call it, coaching
Yep.
It's how we set our goals for every year. We got our 10-year target, our 3-year picture, our annual goals, quarterly rocks. Part of our
milestones.
We have milestones?
We added milestones.
Oh yeah, to the rocks.
Yeah.
Every month we have a milestone in order to reach the rock. So we're tracking. That way we know every week.
Checks with balances and balances with checks.
Goodness.
Yeah.
If we don't know what to do when we wake up every day,
we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
Keep going. Yep.
Part of that is just evaluating, right? What's going well, what's not going well. We took time, and I hope, and we realize that it's a safe place to sit there and say, did we reach this goal? Did we not? Did we reach this goal? Did we not? We had some places hit 43% on some rocks and goals and things, and all the way up to, I think, 80% our highest. I don't know that we hit 90 anywhere.
I don't think we had. I think 8 out of 10 was our highest for sure.
And so anywhere in between, and hopefully it's a safe place for people to come in and do that. And I know there's people who held back. We always have that, right?
Oh yeah.
That just didn't, say what they were thinking or rate or score. But during this time, we did go through a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? And we just came up with some lists. And this is us sitting in the room with, what do we have, 20 people, 25 people?
It was about 25 people total. Yeah, because we did this then.
Yeah, your team in Nashville was there. So we just walked through it. I thought that'd be a good thing just to talk about on the podcast. I think it'll do a couple things. It'll encourage people in the strengths. I think it will also encourage people in the weaknesses. Because they'll know they're not alone in their weaknesses, because everybody has these opportunities and threats and all of the things. So let's just say them, and we might highlight 1 or 2 of them, but we're just going to read a list, right? I put it up on my wall in the office, so I'm reminded of it when I come into the office, and we can go from there. So you want to read some strengths?
Yeah, I'll read the first few, so, and then we can stop and pause on any that you feel are appropriate. So we are relational.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Our mission, our vision, our core values, our strategy is clear. It's identifiable, right? We know where we're going, what we're doing, why we're doing it. Your old statement back in the day, do we know our why? We know our why.
Yeah.
Another strength is our volunteers.
We have a big volunteer base.
Our volunteer base is why this thing runs. It is the engine and the wheels and the boots on the ground that make this thing work. I might pause at this one. Our people are dedicated and they're passionate. And I think that runs all the way through the ministry. From you and Mark on the very top of it, all the way down through the most simple 6th grade or 11th grade student leader that is trying to figure out what it feels like to share their story in front of people. There is dedication and passion throughout the ministry itself.
That's right.
All right, your turn. What else you got?
Good communication that we do talk about. And ironically enough, some of these things are on the other list too. Bad communication, right? We do communicate well on some things and we communicate poorly on others. So we'll hit that one again when we get to our weaknesses. Track record of results. Some of the oldest first priority chapters have been around there for over 25 years now.
Which is so cool.
And have been consistently every year seeing students come to know Jesus. Christian students being trained to lead and non-believers coming to know the Lord.
That's good.
Commonality. That kind of goes to that mission vision thing as well. We have a common mission and an approach, not just a mission, but the way that we do that mission is common. Core of youth pastors, kind of going back to the volunteer base again. They're all volunteering with us and taking to school. And
there's enough news and media hype out there that you can very easily find bad news about youth pastors. Pastors in general. But the good news about the ones that are connected to this is they really want to be unified around the school campus. They're wanting to put down a lot of the upper or the lowercase c's to pick up the uppercase C. And really be a part of something the church is doing on the campus, which is cool.
I agree. The word here, the next one is advisory board. Most of them were districts. Yours is executive board because you have your own 501c3. But the local boards really, in summary, are a strength of ours. We have local business community influencers who are there advocating for us in every area that we have an established network.
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Right behind the board would be a very clear essential network. We know who our essential networks are. We know each of the roles that they play.
Yeah.
Which is helpful to both them as part of the organization, but also us in helping everybody find the right seat on the bus.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I like it. Distinctives.
Who we are.
Going back to the core values again, we are distinct in the gospel-focused, student-led, strategy-based, pro-church, local church engaged.
Yeah, and we might sit on this next one for a little bit because the resources for the club.
Yeah.
One of the things that's been said as long as you and I have been around here, maybe before us, was the more local it is, the better it is.
Yep.
Right? And so what we are learning on a national side is that we can take advantage of that, and we can take resources, Hope, Epic, and all the supporting documents. Most of the stuff that actually works is already being used on a campus somewhere and was developed by a local director.
Correct.
So really trying to find a way to make sure that resources support everybody and not just come from the top down, which is nice.
Well, yeah, we try to make it come from the chapters and
ground level,
right? Ground level. Yeah, most definitely. The staff, our strength.
Agreed.
We've had several meetings. It wasn't just last week's meeting when we say staff. It was our meeting in Decatur a few weeks ago, our meetings in Florida the week after that, and then our meetings last week, and then a meeting with more into the month of June, just the staff around the country. And obviously there's several that we're not going to get to see in person this spring. But yeah, again, that goes back to passionate and dedication that's just out there among the people.
And the next two, I actually think go hand in hand. It probably doesn't feel like that, but honesty and adaptability, to me, those two are the same, because if you truly are willing to be honest about where things are, then it's easy to adapt. Right? You just adjust your plan and keep going, right? But if you're not honest about where things are, such as the L10, such as the smart sheets, all those things, that's hard to adapt because you're not living in reality. You're living in what you hope to be true. Yeah. So those go hand in hand for me.
Well, and they come into the word trust, right? We talked about that. Patrick Lencioni talks about the 5 habits of a dysfunctional team, and it goes backwards, but that honesty, if you don't trust each other, you're not going to walk into conflict. You're not going to be honest and say, I really don't think that's going to work. And then you don't adapt because you weren't honest. And all that foundation builds on trusting each other and having that common mission and striving. Whatever.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. Good.
Legal?
Very.
We are legal.
Purpose.
Yeah. It's not talking about the rules, but the rules are on our side. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. A lot of conversation around all this stuff all the time, but as long as I've been alive so far, it's legal for people to get up and say what they want in the United States. So we're illegal to do student-led clubs in the schools.
And then this last one I mentioned. Is this the last one? No, there's a few more there.
On the strengths.
Well, last one I mentioned when we were together was we have partners who just laugh because when they run into first party people, they know they're first party people, right? They're like, you're a cult, but you're not. But you're a cult, but you're not, right? It's like your people are in. Yes, they are, and we're very thankful for that. We're in for them. They're in for us. It's good.
And we get called a cult because nobody can leave.
Exactly.
You all have to stay.
Exactly.
We can't let anybody go.
There's a lyric, but we'll keep on going.
Oh.
All right, strengths, good list.
It is a good list.
Okay.
Weaknesses.
Are we talking about weaknesses? Do we have to do that? Okay.
Well, it goes back to the honesty and adaptability on our strengths.
Oh, Brad. Okay.
I mean, you can't have one without the other.
All right. Go ahead.
Underfunded. Let's start with the top. Top of the list of our weaknesses. Underfunded, understaffed.
You know, there was kind of a general feeling that everybody said, but we see that tide turning.
Yeah.
There was a general, yep, that's true. Yep, we've got work to do, but we at least know where we're headed with that.
Yeah.
Your support team, what is the office called? What's your office called?
The support center.
Yeah, the support center, like things like that we've never experienced before. Mm-hmm. We're seeing that slowly turn.
We are, and I think that's turning because of the clarity that Traction is bringing to us. We see our target, we're staying focused, we're not driving 2 hours to different places. We're saying, hey, we have this county, we have 12 schools. We're going to go after this year. Will you help?
Yep.
And it's super clean. It's super simple. And again, it's a tide turning. It's not a switch that's flipped, but
correct.
Yeah. And that gets into even the next weakness, which is old habits.
Individually, corporately.
Oh, goodness. All of it.
Just list it.
All of it.
Yep.
Well, and it's not even habits. Sometimes Grace and Tiana and I were talking about the EPIC manual, and we were working with One Hope this year, putting the one that we're going to put out on the table, and we shared documents with them, but those documents had old language in it. So then that old language gets put back into the new stuff, and it's kind of like, now we got to go in and make all those edits, which, Tiana was jumping up and down about more work. But yeah, it's sometimes not even old habits, but it is just the history, and we get caught up in all of that, and it's hard to get back out of that again.
Yep.
Especially when it's not just language on a paper, but it's how our minds are thinking. It's those habits, right?
Well, and because of what we do, there is a flow to ministry. We even created a calendar while we were together about that. And so you start thinking about communication channels, and being one of our weaknesses is what's ever on our mind, whatever is in front of us, that's what we're going to communicate really well on. The things that are kind of circling and back that we'll get to eventually, those are communication points we should have, but we don't get to them at the moment, or we don't very often.
Well, are you leading into the next weakness there? Consistent communication.
That's what I was talking about,
Again, communication was on the strength list, but it's also on the weakness list. And this one particularly, they're talking about the network and communicating with parents.
Oh.
Right? And that's where that was going, is how can we communicate? We got a room of 70 students. How can we get in touch with and communicate with those parents in order to continue to build our volunteer base and the financial base and grow the movement into more schools? Ironically enough, and I'll use this as a thing, sometimes you consider it a weakness, but the person who put this, the district that put this on the list, was the one that was communicating with parents the best and the most effectively in the room. So they saw it as a weakness. It was really high tide raising the rest of the ships to say, hey, here's some things we need to do. They're going to go back and put down what they're currently doing on paper, so they can spread that out, and all of us can collaborate then and say, okay, what is the best practice for communicating with parents and making that better?
Good.
So,
okay.
Limited awareness of FP brand.
It's just one of those things that for the longest time we desired to be the best kept secret.
Yep.
We really didn't want to get in the weeds of the media or anybody else. And so that was on purpose for the longest time. Just let us do what we do, however many schools it is. Let us be the best kept secret that youth pastors and churches and students know about.
It is a blessing and a curse.
It is.
One of the things that was said is be careful. You've got a great vision, but make sure that you don't end up living on a lake house divorced. Yeah. Because all of a sudden you figure out how to monetize what you're doing, or this, that, or the other thing. And you head the wrong direction with it, was the nutshell of that. Isolation between chapters, districts. You're in Nashville. The next closest one is Decatur, which is an 1.5-hour drive. But I mean, you can get,
for you, race car driver, from your house it is.
I'm in Spring Hill.
It's 2 hours from my house. Good night. Yeah, but you're exactly right. Yeah, it's not convenient. There's got to be a reason. Yeah,
it's a 8-hour flight to California to get out to Justin.
Yep.
I mean, it gets isolation, and that's just, it is what it is. It's a weakness.
It is.
Various opinions.
Which was just kind of flying in the face, but also just recognizing, hey, in the midst of us all being on the same page, there is also these minor things that we believe are the most important, or truths, or and that's a weakness for us. It can be a strength as well.
Our growing pains. I mean, we're growing. First Priority growing.
Like weed,
like crazy. Chapters, districts, you name it, they're all growing. We grew by 20%. And it just gets a little muddy because you make changes as you grow, and all the communication doesn't happen. Donor follow through. Yeah. Another weakness.
Well, that one is, again, just our team learning the rhythms of doing donor work. It used to be somebody else's job.
Should we buzz through some opportunities?
Sure, let's talk about those.
Strategic collaboration. Do you remember what that means?
I know what it means. How did you guys use it? I don't remember it being used.
It was strategic collaboration, that there is a growing awareness of the teenage culture and the moments in history, and that faith-based and government and a lot of people are starting to work together to try to be light in the dark world that is teenage culture.
Yeah, from our team side. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's unity of people and task forces.
Yeah, correct.
Was that next thing there?
Yeah, from our side was if we're a local church uniter, then we're a uniter of the campus ministries. We're a uniter of camp ministries. Like we're a uniter of all of it.
Yep.
We can't be one or the other. We got to be it completely and wholly, which
Correct.
we are.
Opportunities, pastor and business networks, capitalizing on those, building relationships in Kiwanis clubs and pastors networks and whatever the case might be there.
Which opens up opportunities to speak at churches. And that was one of the things that Mark brought up over and over again, man. If you don't have a goal or a milestone or a rock that this many churches your staff team is going to be a part of, you don't have to be on the front of the stage to make an impact.
Yeah.
Speak at a Sunday school class, serve the youth ministry. But if you don't have a goal for that, you won't do it.
That's right.
You'll be comfortable in your own place, and that's not part of this job.
That's right. Momentum and passion is an opportunity. I mean, we've got some momentum. And we've got the passion behind it, so we're going to continue to ride that wave.
Learning better how to use social media in a way that it will reach our audiences.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big discussion within my team locally.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one for all of us.
But it's a great opportunity.
It's an opportunity there. Creative event planning. We continue to plan more and more events. People get more and more creative with how they do events. And we try to not make the same mistake twice.
And I will simply say what I appreciated about that as an opportunity is that wasn't that activity pointed towards progress.
Okay.
That was hey, if we're going to do something, let's be strategic about it and use it for everything we can. It wasn't, hey, if we do double the events next year, then we'll have double the.
Sure.
So, it wasn't an activity discussion. It was really about how do we be more creative so that new people can hear about what's going on.
Yep. Instead of having an event with 40 people at it, let's do the same event with 80 and be creative in what we're doing. Yep.
Correct.
Yep. The many churches out in the community. I mean, there's so many churches. There's an opportunity there to network another church. These are my favorites.
Lost kids. Christian kids.
The students, the student population. That's 100% of the student population that's out there. Yep. And that is an opportunity to train up another Christian kid to be a leader or to reach another lost kid.
Exactly.
Looking for hope.
And they go hand in hand with the way we do ministry.
Yeah. Youth pastors, going back to the many churches, there are many youth pastors, parents out there.
We find a lot of parents are becoming campus coaches, club coaches, which is great. I'm
hearing that more and more and more. Not that youth pastors aren't the coaches anymore, but it's not a universal thing anymore to say, hey, I need a youth pastor. No, I need a passionate parent who cares about this and has the time to do it. Yep. And the donor base. Yeah. We're growing the donor base.
Every day.
Every day.
New partners that pray and invest.
Yep. That's right. What about our threats?
Well, that kind of just winds down the list, right? When you talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Mm-hmm. Outside organizations that do not want to unite, that don't want to work together, that don't want to partner, that really are just focused. And it's not that they don't need to be focused on their own thing; they're called to it. Yep. But don't see the opportunity of students.
Well, and I think the threat then becomes the unintentional competition and the perception of competition.
It's good
that has. Not necessarily you were kind of saying that. Not the organization itself is not the threat, right? It's just that unintentional. Whenever you create an institution, which we say we're not, we're a strategy for the local church, but at the same time we have a 501c3 and a logo and all the things. So that unintentional competition can be a threat, and we need to be aware of it. Yeah.
You're right.
Difficult schools?
Again, we just really talked about there are plenty of places that are hungry for us to be there, but there's places that not only are they not hungry for us to be there, they don't want us there. Yep. It's very difficult to get in and to serve.
Yep. And much like the many churches are an opportunity, the complacent churches can be a threat because not only do they not want to volunteer with us, but then they will try to not let it happen also.
Yeah, correct.
Many times. Ironically enough, that happens sometimes.
What's your next one?
I'm going to go, non-missional churches got listed. That's kind of the same thing. The donor pool with so many nonprofits.
Which was an interesting conversation because I do see that as a threat, but I also live in the land.
I've heard you say that before, yeah.
I live in the land of nonprofits, and I'm learning that story wins.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the Lord has plenty more resource than I have asks at the moment.
Yeah.
I need to just be better at being bold and asking and never saying no for anybody.
Sure.
So I'm only speaking for me. I'm not speaking for the people who spoke up at that meeting. I'm just saying that over the years, I used to say that a lot.
Yeah.
It's true. Nashville's got so many national, international ministries,
Thousands
but it's
thousands.
really more about whether or not I'm willing to tell the story again.
Yeah. Because you were not the one to say this. I've heard you say this through the years.
Yep.
You were not the one to say it.
I didn't.
I came out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which, there was that same thing with the festivals and all the different nonprofits there as well. And I think what the comment I made at one point on this one was, I grew up in Sioux Center, which was the buckle of the Bible Belt. I moved to Sioux Falls, which is the buckle of Bible. Now I live in Nashville, which one is really the buckle?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So the nonprofit competition is kind of the same thing. It's how do we navigate that? You tell a really good story.
Tell the story.
Yep.
Keep telling it.
That's right. Self-dependence can be a threat.
It is if we take that isolationism and just decide that we're just going to do our thing and we don't need anybody, and that's human.
That is a human nature coming
human.
out. Yep. And to think that we aren't vulnerable to that would be very naive.
Yep.
Yeah. Political evangelicalism.
Who said that one? I think that's the only one that I added to the discussion.
You added to this?
I did.
To the discussion?
I did.
Well done.
Only because we just need to be aware. You're not going to stop people's belief systems.
Yeah.
But just to be aware when that thing rears its head, we are uniters.
Yeah.
Do they believe this, this, and this, and this? We want to unite them. They don't believe that, but just the way that we use our language in the midst of that, it's the first time I use my hands today and talking. The way that we use that and the way that we're aware of that is a big deal because it can be a threat if we let it sneak its head in.
It can. And that can, the threat, the worst threat of that is we all have a box. We're spiritual creatures. We all have a spiritual box. So lost people have a spiritual box as well. And when they see the politics and the claims of Christianity to go along with politics that don't line up with Jesus, but that's their box. And it makes it harder for us to tell people about Jesus. And that's, as specific as I'm going to get on a podcast about that threat. So cultural Christianity, which kind of lines into that.
Right in the
same kind of a vein that, could you say complacent Christianity, comfortable Christianity?
Does. And then let's land on this last one because I think it's fair. I have yet to meet anyone that has wholeheartedly said yes to leading or serving this ministry that hasn't had a moment where the enemy has looked for a foothold to attack their families. And I don't mean that in a place of those were weak people. I actually mean it in the other, that they decided to be dependent people. But we've heard from the top to the bottom inside the ministry, even this past fiscal calendar or school calendar year, of people who have faced unbelievable attack of the enemy.
Yep.
And so to acknowledge that and to ask the King of Kings to fight on our behalf is a great first place to start.
I would agree. It's where we need to be. I've seen it in my family all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, we hear the stories. So.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the numbers here because I took a picture of that as well.
Oh, did you? Good.
You and Jeff Stanford in the Ozarks both hit 100%. And I'll say the office did as well on their rocks. So the three of you on your quarterly rocks this quarter hit 100% while you didn't hit your goals.
Correct.
Which goes to, again, shows humanity.
Yep.
We think we can do a lot in a year, but we don't think we can do as much in a day.
In a quarter, yeah.
Or in a quarter in that, right?
Good.
So every day, if you wake up and keep moving, you'll eventually get there.
Yep.
I think it's the moral of that story. Just keep putting that out there and moving forward.
And we'll close with this. So Brad led this exercise during our time together. And one of the neat things that Brad did was just talk about you can project humility or you can just lay it on the table. And you just laid humility on the table and said, now, the point of this is if there's something on here that you see as a threat to us organizationally, to you personally, I need you to come find me.
Yeah.
And I think two people, for sure one, but I think two people took you up on that and said, I would love a conversation. Can we do that privately?
Yep.
And my team spoke up very clearly about that and said that was a great moment that they're not sure they've ever experienced before, where we said, hey, you can project humility and say we're humble, or you can just lay it on the table and say, for the sake of the good of the organization, now that we've been through these things, if there's something on here that you see as a threat, come see me.
That's right.
Let's just work it out.
Yep.
Because it's not personal for me.
I know people went to Mark too and
good
talked to him about some things, and
perfect.
And that's the definition of a healthy team, right?
Yep.
Is if you contribute. If you're not contributing, you're not speaking your voice.
Yep.
Your gifts aren't being a part of that team, and they're missing a piece. You're there for a reason.
Yep.
Whoever you are, you're there. So we want everybody to contribute. We want conflict, healthy conflict, right?
100%.
Because that what causes us to wrestle, adapt to the new way of doing it.
Builds
trust.
Yep.
And we can get the results that we're looking for. And when we say take the hope of Christ to every student in America,
that's a result we're looking for.
That's a big task, and that's a big result. So
like it.
It's worth it. It's
well
worth
done.
wrestling through the momentary, whatever fear we have as an individual.
Yep.
That would cause us not to say something. So
agreed.
If you have something, email steve@fpofamerica.com.
And I will forward it to Tayana, and she will distribute to the team.
Oh boy, they're with the trust. Nobody's gonna email nothing. Nah. We'll talk to you. Yeah, we love you. We thank you for being a part of First Priority.
Yep.
Being a part of this movement, this growing movement. And I hope the summertime can be relaxing. A moment to pause, to breathe deep. And I know you said to run. You're running right now, but hopefully it's running in a healthy way.
It is going to see my family.
That's right. Well, thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. See you next week.